All right, let's talk about one of the single most powerful skills you can build in a relationship, and that's the ability to just pause. Today, we're going to walk through a really simple 60-second practice that can completely change how you and your partner deal with those tough moments.
I want you to think about the last time you were in an argument, right before you jumped in to defend yourself. Did you happen to notice what was going on inside your own body? That one little question, it's the key to pretty much everything we're about to cover.
And here's why that question is so important. See, it's almost never the disagreement itself that causes the real, lasting harm. It's not about who's right or wrong. The real damage? Well, that comes from the split-second, unobserved reaction that happens right after we feel triggered.
But what if I told you that reaction isn't as automatic as it feels? Let's look at this idea of a tiny gap, this little moment of choice that honestly, most of us fly right past without even knowing it's there.
It's so fast you could miss it. But in that tiny moment between something happening, the trigger, and you responding, your nervous system lights up. You know the feeling, right? Your chest might get tight, your jaw sets, your thoughts start racing. That's not just in your head, it's a real physical event. And right there, in that tiny supercharged moment, you're standing at a fork in the road. You can either go down the default path, which is to protect your ego, to prove you're right, or you can consciously choose to protect the relationship, to protect the connection you have with your partner.
For most of us, that reaction feels so automatic, it doesn't even feel like a choice. But here's the magic. The simple act of noticing, just noticing, hey, my chest is tight, that creates a gap. And it's inside that little bit of space that you can switch from just reacting to actually repairing.
Okay, so let's make this less abstract. We're going to walk through a really common scenario to see exactly how this whole thing plays out and how that tiny gap can change everything.
So, imagine your partner turns to you and says this, "I feel alone lately." Now, that is a vulnerable statement. They're sharing a feeling, but for so many of us, that doesn't land as a feeling. It lands like an accusation, like a trigger.
And instantly, before you've even had a chance to really think, your body reacts. You feel it. That tightness in your chest, maybe your jaw clenches up, your mind just starts spinning. That's your nervous system kicking into gear.
And right behind that physical feeling comes the story. Your mind immediately interprets their feeling as a judgment on you. The little voice in your head says, "Oh great, so now I'm feeling it this too? I guess I can never do enough." And then, out comes the reply. Sharp. Defensive. And with that one sentence, the entire conversation has been hijacked. It's not about your partner's loneliness anymore. Now it's a fight about the facts, about whether you're physically present. The connection is gone.
But what if we rewind? Imagine, instead of lashing out, you just noticed. You had that quiet thought, wow, I'm feeling really defensive right now. That's it. That one little observation changes the game. You're not trying to stop the feeling, you're just seeing it. And the second you see it, it doesn't control you anymore.
So how do we actually do this? How do we get better at noticing? Well, that brings us to this really practical tool, the 60-second pause.
Just 60 seconds. That's all it takes. Now, I know in the heat of the moment, a minute can feel like an eternity, but I promise you, that 1 minute can save you hours, sometimes even days of painful disconnection.
So here's how it works, step by step. First, you just state your need, calmly. You know what? I need just 1 minute to respond to that. Well, second, in that minute, you just breathe. Take a slow breath and just notice what's going on in your body. Third, you silently give that feeling a name, just to yourself. Okay, I'm feeling defensive, or wow, that really hurt. Just naming it takes away so much of its power. And finally, after that minute is up, you respond with intention, instead of just from that raw initial reaction. Now, it is so important to be clear on what this pause is for. This is a tool you use to give yourself a choice to protect your relationship and to prevent doing damage. It is absolutely not a weapon. It's not a way to withdraw from the conversation or to punish your partner with the silent treatment or to just avoid the issue. The whole point is to come back to the conversation just in a much better way. You know, this isn't just some little trick to use in a fight. What we're really talking about here is building a brand new, fundamental skill in your relationship. It's the shift from being reactive to being reflective. And there's actually a name for this skill. It's called response capacity. It's just your ability to hold on to a difficult feeling, like being criticized or feeling hurt, for long enough to choose a response that doesn't make things worse. It's really a cornerstone of emotional maturity. And the difference this one skill makes is just huge. You see, reactive couples tend to get stuck in loops.
Things escalate fast, they say stuff they don't mean, and they end up having the same fight again and again. But reflective couples, look, they still get triggered, we all do, but they use the pause to stop harm, to repair, and to always protect the connection. That's the priority.
And I think this is just such an important thing to remember. The goal isn't to be some kind of Zen master who never gets upset. That's not realistic. Real emotional maturity in a partnership is about developing the skill to pause before you say or do something that causes damage you're going to have to clean up later. So here's my invitation to you. The very next time you feel that trigger go off, before you say a word, before you defend, before you counterattack, just ask yourself this one simple question. What is happening inside me right now? That question alone can be enough to create that tiny gap we've been talking about all this time.
If this way of looking at things resonates with you, I'd love for you to subscribe to Resolve Together. Here, we don't teach you how to avoid conflict. We teach you how to handle it with awareness and with care. Because at the end of the day, the strongest relationships aren't built by people who have perfect reactions. They're built by people who have mastered the thoughtful pause.